Well, maybe we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight on Zoom. It's a pleasure to have a chance to virtually meet some of you and have a conversation about Hobart and William Smith colleges. We're excited to be here. My name is Rob Flowers. I'm the Vice President for Campus Life on campus. My wife and I came to the colleges in 2004 and have just had a remarkable experience. We are so thankful to be a part of this community. My wife runs the community service office on campus, and I'm the Vice President for Campus Life, and have certainly enjoyed being here and meeting so many great people. I'm joined tonight by my colleague, Marty Corbett. Marty is the Associate Vice President for Campus Safety. And Marty has been here, Marty, I want to say 10 plus years.
About 8 years.
8 years, okay. And so it's been my great honor to have brought Marty to Hobart and William Smith and work with him for the entire time. So our hope tonight is just to give a real brief presentation and share some information with you, and then give you a chance to ask us questions about campus life, about campus safety, and certainly we're joined by, we have an admissions representative with us this evening. So any questions that we can help as you consider over the next few days, some really important questions, and we'd be more than happy to try to help. With that, the one thing I see that everyone has already done plenty of Zoom sessions, but we ask that folks keep their microphones on mute while they're during the presentation. We are recording this. We try to keep the noise down so that it makes sense, but please feel free to use the chat function to send us questions, and we'll answer those as they come in, and we're happy to have that conversation. So with that, I'll ask my colleague Marty Corbett to begin.
Thank you, Rob, and again, good evening, everyone. And I want to welcome to the session tonight. You know, Hobart and William Smith Colleges is really an exceptional student-centered environment. We're so happy that you've joined us. I'm going to talk briefly about campus safety and then turn it back over to Rob to speak. We have a dedicated campus safety staff. They're on patrol on the campus 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're on foot, they're on bicycles, they're in vehicles, and they patrol the grounds of the campus. They patrol the administrative buildings on campus, and they spend time in the residence halls interacting with students on a regular basis, providing safety services within the residence halls. So it's not uncommon for our students to interact with our campus safety staff fairly regularly. What I want to talk a little bit about is the transition to college, and in more particular detail, how we handle orientation for students, because it's very important that they understand safety at the very beginning of their time here at Hobart and William Smith Colleges. So during orientation, that very first day, your son or daughter is going to get to spend time with campus safety in a one-on-one session for just about an hour. And we provide some significant information to them about our safety programs on campus. For example, we talk to them about staying safe on campus themselves, safeguarding their property. We spend significant time talking about fire safety. And then we also talk to them about how we will communicate to them during an emergency should something happen on campus. So for example, if we had some type of significant incident that occurred, how would we reach out to students and make them aware of that? And so we have an Everbridge mass notification system. All the students are automatically enrolled in that system just by virtue of enrolling at the colleges. So they don't have to do anything to be able to get those emergency notifications. They go out to the students on their cell phones, by text message, by email. We also have a desktop notification system that's tied into that. So if your son or daughter is using any proprietary computer on the campus, they will get that emergency message as soon as we send it out on that computer. We also have a speaker system across campus. You know, quite often faculty members like to take students outside for classes. We have sports teams practicing outside. Of course, faculty always tell students to turn their cell phones off. So if something were to happen during a class like that, they may not get that message on their cell phone, but they would certainly hear it through the speakers that we have on campus. What I really want to talk about is some of those services I think we provide that are unique maybe across different colleges. So for example, we do everything we can to make that transition for our students here to Hobart and William Smith Colleges. We provide a lot of rides to students, and you may think, well, you know, what really does a ride entail? Well, students have a lot of opportunities here. They have internship opportunities. They have work study opportunities. They will maybe work on campus at our communications office downtown or our advancement office. And so we always think about how we can make that environment for students better for them. And one thing we found is that a lot of students, maybe they didn't bring a car to campus with them. And so it's not a far walk downtown. It's not really too far to walk to the high school if you're in the teacher education program and you have a work study, but it can be a long walk when it's raining or if it's snowing and cold. So we've made it our mission to make sure that we work with students at that time to make sure that they get to those opportunities. So all they have to do is call our office. We'll have a campus safety officer pick them up, bring them out to the high school for their work study program, and pick them up when that's completed. We also provide safe rides to students at night. You know, if they're studying at the library and they just don't really feel comfortable just walking back to their residence hall that night, all they have to do is pick up the phone and call campus safety. We'll come right over, we'll pick them up, we'll make sure that they get to their residence hall. Now, for some reason, safe rides seem to go up when it's raining and snowing. We're not quite sure why that is, but we don't mind. That's okay. We use that opportunity when we're giving students rides to really engage with them. So it's not just picking a student up, getting them in our campus safety vehicle and driving them from point A to point B. We spend a lot of time talking to them. We get to know our students that way. We find out what their major is. We find out where they're from. Sometimes it's not uncommon for a campus safety officer to detour with a student, maybe take them to the counseling center, or recommend some other services to them, Center for Teaching and Learning if they're having a problem with their classes. So our officers are well briefed on some of the services that colleges provide to students to help them with their academics, to help them grow socially on campus, and to engage in co-curricular learning. We provide other services from jumping cars with dead batteries to almost anything a student wants. Sometimes students aren't feeling well on campus. Maybe they have a prescription over at Wegmans. They just don't feel well enough to pick it up, and they don't have anybody that can get it for them. It's not uncommon for our officers to get a student's bank card, run over to Wegmans or Walgreens, wherever their pharmacy is, get that prescription and bring it back to them. So at campus safety, we like to say that there's nothing we won't do for our students. If they ask us, we're going to try and figure out how to make it happen for them.
Thanks, Marty, very much. Certainly appreciate it. I think on a broad context, when I think of what the campus life experience is at Hobart and William Smith, I think that it's residential by design and by nature. It's about being engaged with and helping our students to engage our campus, their faculty and staff, and each other. And it's about care and support for our students. And as we think about that, we start with residential. We are a residential liberal arts college, undergraduate liberal arts college by design, because we think that that's important. It's what we do best. It is certainly, as we look at it, not just about the residence halls. We have a really unique spot. I've worked in higher education for about 30 years. We have 54 standalone residential buildings on a campus for 2,200 students. So it's a pretty remarkable number, and it really varies. We have traditional residence halls, we have single gender residence halls, we have co-educational residence halls, we have suite style living, we have apartment style living, and we have small houses and theme houses in which students have a completely different experience. And it's been that variety of experience is important, but more important is the way I think we engage our students in the residential experience. We house our first year students together with their first year seminar. And those first year seminars, as folks have learned probably throughout the admissions process, these are small groups, 14, 15 students who become attached to, part of the goal of that is to attach them to some of our best and brightest faculty members and say, these are the folks you want, and there's a connection you can make walking in the door on a residential setting with a person who can help you throughout your 4 years at the institution. And we see that happen all the time. Those faculty members are not just engaged in the classroom, they're engaged in the residence halls. We have faculty members who teach, several teach their first year seminars in the residence halls, and that goes from environmental studies programs to food biology programs to anything you can imagine. And they find ways to use the classrooms and they've asked for the classrooms of the residence halls so that they can be where the students are. They hold their meetings in the residence halls to try to find ways to connect with their students. And then we have a residence hall staff who's intended, and their sole purpose is to engage with your students, to find ways in which we're helping our students. We are very particular about the staff we hire and assign to first year buildings as we move forward every year, because we know that for a lot of our students, that's some of their first connection to the institution. So that residential experience is a big part of what we want to have. And then we want students to use that as part of the engagement that we move into next that happens broadly. A lot of our students in that engagement phase will think about theme housing on our campus and opportunities to say that I have an idea that I want to start a house that focuses solely on support for cancer survivors. And in doing so, I'm going to propose a theme. I have a group of friends with whom I'd like to live to do that. And they move forward to offer that kind of theme proposal. And then they find a faculty advisor, again, ways to connect faculty and staff back into the residential experience for our students and find a way to engage with them. We also really focus on, we have more than 90 clubs and student organizations on campus, and a lot of schools have that. But one of the things that I've loved about Hobart William Smith is that we work hard to let our students engage us in ways that benefit them or that interest them. And I think of a couple of unique examples over the past, of the time I've been at Hobart William Smith. We had a group of students who wanted to start a debate club. And this is probably 10 plus years ago. And those students came to me and came to the president at the time and asked for this opportunity. And we said, all right, this is a neat idea. What a great place. Let's find some funding. Let's get them organized as a student club or organization. And within 5 years, this club was becoming one of the top debate teams in the country. We ended up hiring an advisor, and we now host one of the top 3 debate tournaments in the United States, and it draws people from all over the country. This is all came out of a student-focused, student-engaged, student-led effort. We also have a great opportunity for our students to engage with. We had a group of students who came to me 5 years ago and said, I want to start an esports club. And how can we do that? We identified a house. We identified the way in fact, our IT services staff worked incredibly closely with them to get them the equipment we needed. And that organization that started with a group of 5 students who came to my office now has more than 150 participants, and it's one of our most active clubs. We have a group that's wanted to start an EMT club, and now we have a very active and robust student EMT program on campus. So we look for ways to engage our students. We also have some of the more unique opportunities. We just finished electing, and I was on a Zoom call earlier today with what we call student trustees. And these are students who are elected to represent their fellow students on the board of trustees, and they are full voting members of the board of trustees. There are some schools that have this, but not many, and it's a pretty unique place when they're full voting members of our board of trustees. Students are represented on major faculty committees, the committee that oversees our curriculum on campus, as well as the committee that oversees academic and behavioral standards on campus. And in this time of COVID-19, we have a task force working to think about how we move forward and what do we do moving forward. And in doing so, that we have 2 students represented on that committee, which is made up of faculty, trustees, and several of my staff as well. So it's about engaging and letting students become engaged and letting students find ways that they want to engage with the institution. And that's proven for us to be a really good model. I guess the third way is care and concern. And I see there's a question about medical support. Perhaps the thing we do best at Hobart William Smith is focus on the individual and provide care and support for our students. We run, the question that was posed in the chat room is about medical staff. We have a full medical center. We're in partner with Finger Lakes Health, which is our local regional health operation. We have a physician, we have a psychiatrist on campus. We have several nurse practitioners and LPNs on our campus. Our center is open every day, but then in addition, because of our partnership, we have access to our local urgent care run by the Finger Lakes Health System. It's a dedicated line solely for Hobart and William Smith students. It also means that the folks at the local urgent care have direct access to our students' medical records so that it's a seamless transition. Similarly with the local hospitals, if there is a place where a student needs to be in an emergency room, they have immediate access to that. We run a full counseling center on campus with psychologists and counselors. And that center is open. In fact, right now we're doing both the telehealth and the telemental health as well as telepsychiatry for all of our students. And those numbers have remained almost at rates similar to as what they were in person, although we all know that experience is not the same as it would be if we were in person. We also think a lot about caring for our students, and I think that no better time to explain. So we try to make it so that every student has a connection to a faculty or staff member during that first semester. The reason we do that is because we know that students they have questions that they just don't know to whom they ought to address those questions. Some of them are questions about meal plans, and then some of them are questions about, I'm having a difficult time in a chemistry class and I need a tutor. How do I access a tutor, or how do I access academic support? So we try to connect every one of our students with a faculty or staff member during that first semester, as well as their families, to tell them this is a person you can call. If you call me and I don't know the answer, I'm going to find the person that knows the answer, and we'll make that connection for you. And I think as we've gone through the last couple of months, that's never been more clear to us, as over the course of the last week, all of the campus life staff, and this includes our coaches, our counselors, our medical staff, our campus safety staff, our residence life staff, have called every single one of our students to ask just simply, how are you? How are you doing? What can we do to be helpful? And what ways can we help you? And I think that's the most, I was so proud of our staff for being willing to do that and engage. And I'm very happy that we were able to do this in a way that really allowed our students to have access to, again, to another person from whom they could seek some kind of help. So it's been a good way that we show what we do best on campus. And with that, I see we have a few questions. One is counseling free? Counseling is absolutely free on campus. There's no cost for counseling at all. A question here about, in light of COVID-19, once students come back to campus, will there be plans to increase medical support and staff? We have multiple plans. Certainly understanding that we, like most of the nation right now, are trying to consider all options. What do we know? What do we think we know? And what we're trying to deal with the facts as they present themselves. Marty Corbett has been working with our health center staff on plans for how do we even begin with the initial testing? How do we begin with making certain that we're offering support for our faculty and staff when they're able to return, which likely will be sooner than students, given the fact that it'll happen this summer. And then thinking about how do we offer all of the staff. We're in conversations with our health center staff about means by which we can best offer testing. We have protocol for managing pandemics like this, and in this case, our protocols certainly were put to the test, but they stood up well to the situation. So we do have ideas about ways in which I think both with our health center and with our thanks to our local Finger Lakes Health Group and our connection to them, can offer that. I have a question here from, please feel free to submit questions too, because we're happy to keep answering these. What health services are available on campus? Can I treat something minor without needing to visit urgent care? The answer is absolutely yes. In fact, we provide almost everything that you can get at urgent care on campus, with the exception of our local urgent care does have the capacity to do x-rays. We do not have x-rays on campus, but we can make that transition for folks if they need x-rays. But for the vast majority of folks who are presenting with common illnesses, we're able to treat all of those on campus, and we do that right now in a really good way. Both our physician on campus as well as our psychiatrist on campus have offered that. We also have a really good opportunity where we have pharmaceuticals delivered to campus for those who need it. And Marty and his staff do a wonderful job making if our students do need to visit a pharmacy or need to visit urgent care or the hospital, they provide that transition. Another question, do we have a women's center on campus? We absolutely do. So in the context of health, we offer women's health as a unique section of what we do in our health center. But then we have both a student women's center as well as our Fisher Center, which is a well organized faculty-driven program to look at issues certainly about gender. That's who Hobart and William Smith is, and it's part of what we do. We have a women's center that is on the first floor pond view of one of our residence halls. That center is widely used, and it's very active as well. Another question, do I need to use my private insurance to access services on campus at the health center? So great question. We do, so insurance will be billed, but at no point, if a student's insurance is out of network, if a student's insurance leaves him or her with a significant copay, then we just forgive the bill. That goes away. We will bill the insurance, but that's never a burden, and our staff is well trained, the health center is well trained to explain that our job is to treat our students and to serve our students, and we will take care of any bills that are brought in as a result of service on campus. In addition to the NPs, is there also a full-time MD on staff? We don't have a full-time MD. We have an MD for about 20 hours a week on campus, but that person is our medical director and is available to us full-time. In addition to that, we also have an MD who serves as our psychiatrist, and that person does at least 12 and a half hours a week on campus, and depending on the need, is on campus more frequently than that as well. That was a good question. Any other questions for us this evening? I think that as we look look forward to the fall semester, we're all excited. This is a pretty unique place, and I think that having as I talk to our students and certainly to our faculty as well, we're just in a place where folks want to be together and want to be on campus, and they really appreciate the tight-knit small community of Hobart and William Smith and of Geneva, and we're entering one of the most beautiful times in the Finger Lakes, so we're excited about that. A couple other, how do the support nurse work with the sports teams on weekends? Our health center staff is somewhat involved with the sports, with our athletic teams, but we also run a full athletic training operation. Or sports medicine is what we call it. And that sports medicine group has 4 full-time staff members who are assigned to teams, as well as some per diem folks who are assigned to teams as well. And they engage with our teams regularly. They're at the direction of the athletic director and work extremely closely with our coaches. So that's they certainly, and then we also have on retainer a physician that works specifically with sports medicine, one for ortho, one for brain injury. So we have several folks who work very closely with our athletic trainers as well. Marty, there's a question here about the shuttles. Do you want to take that one?
Sure, I will. Thank you. So there's a question about shuttles. We have a shuttle service, and then the follow-up to that is, do you need your Onecard to board the shuttle? So no, you do not need to use your Onecard to board the shuttle. What we found is quite often, students, sometimes they have the Onecard with them, sometimes they don't. We wouldn't want that to preclude them from being able to get transportation on campus. So we run our shuttle 7 days a week. It begins at 7 o'clock at night, and it runs till 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. depending upon the night. There's a number of stops on campus. It stops at Wegmans, stops up by the movie theater in the plaza near campus, and there's a couple of stops downtown also, one near our Interpretal Center for students that go down to Castle Street, and also up at our 380 South Main Residence Hall.
Great, thanks, Marty. There's another shuttle question here. Do we run weekend or holiday shuttles to the airports? This is specifically to Rochester, but we offer shuttles at holiday times or institutional breaks, and as well at the end of and beginning of every semester. We run those from Buffalo to Syracuse and Rochester, all of those airports. And actually, not only that, but we have staff who work with our students and drive them. Marty's campus safety staff and Marty, including Marty, will drive students to Buffalo at 3 o'clock in the morning to make a 5 o'clock flight. So we do a lot of that. In addition, we run shuttles right now to Boston and New York before every break and after every break. We have in the past we have done shuttles to Philadelphia and to DC, depending on the interest level. If there's interest, we run the shuttles to help make that possible. And they go to unique spots. One stop, the New York, for instance, stops at Westchester and then at Grand Central. Boston goes to South Station. Philly was going, I can't remember actually where Philly was going, but we do run those shuttles. Another question about shuttles, do they go to Canandaigua? There is, we don't run shuttles to Canandaigua, but there is in this area a regional transportation bus service that has stops on campus that does go to, they take students to Canandaigua, they take students into the local mall in Victor, New York, and into Rochester and connect with the Rochester Metropolitan Transportation System as well. Another question, should students plan for any residential changes or class meeting schedule changes in the fall in response to the pandemic situation? Right now, we remain hopeful that we will, like many institutions, that we will be able to be back in session and have a quasi-normal fall semester, just as with perhaps some understanding that there'll be social distancing requirements most likely, but and also understanding that there's a lot of work on our part to do to be able to say that we can offer the testing and support necessary to be able to do that and to be successful and to most importantly care for the health and well-being of our faculty, staff, and students. So right now we plan to be back in full session in the fall semester. Certainly, if conditions change, we have a task force that I mentioned earlier. I don't know if the person who asked this was on. That task force comprises faculty, staff, and students who are right now talking about possibilities. What would it look like if the recommendation was for us to start 2 weeks later, or if the recommendation were for us to start at what would have been our start remotely and transfer to in-person learning at the semester break. We're looking at all of those options, but right at this time, I think we're very hopeful that we'll be back and starting we'll be starting with as much of a normal residential experience as we're able to offer. Another question, does the school have a dress code? Absolutely not. So we want students to be our students are typical college students in most ways. You'll see a student with a tie and you'll see a student wearing sweatpants. So it's a good question. Well, any other questions that we can be helpful with? I know this is an important time, and we certainly appreciate the great consideration you're giving. As you can hopefully tell, Marty and I both think the world of Hobart and William Smith. I have a daughter who, from the time she was born, believes that this is the place she'll be going to college. And as much as I dread the day of sending her to college, I look very much forward to her attending William Smith, because I think it'll be great.
Yeah, I have a 17-year-old that practically has a room picked out already. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate everyone's time. If you have any questions as we go forward that weren't answered, that you didn't ask tonight, or you would like to, please don't hesitate to reach out to either Marty or to me. Again, Marty Corbett, and I believe, Marty, you're just corbett@hws.edu. That's
correct.
And I'm Rob Flowers. I'm just Flowers, FLOWERS @hws.edu. Please do not hesitate to be in touch if we can be helpful and answer any questions as you go through the next few days. Thanks all. We certainly appreciate it, and wish you the very best. Stay healthy and wash your hands.
Thank you, everyone.